Hello there booktube, how are you doing? Today I'm going to be doing the 1001 books tag. This was created by Sandy over at Miss Reads a Lot, and I was tagged in this very kindly by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis. Both channels I really enjoy, yeah, I love watching the videos. I really enjoy chatting with them in the comments and so forth. Yeah, I'll link both their videos underneath. And yeah, let's get into it. It's a tag I've really loved watching, yeah, I was excited that Sandy had made her own tag. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So the first prompt is 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? So this can be like a prize list or like a challenge. The example here is the Rory Gilmore challenge. And no, I don't follow any lists. I'm very intuitive, a bit of a mood reader. When I'm buying books, it tends to be just kind of what I'm in the mood for or what arouses my curiosity on that occasion. And it's generally the same when I'm choosing what to read. Obviously with booktube, with kind of group reads and buddy reads and book clubs and things, that kind of takes a bit away from that and offers a little more structure, which is good. I'm all for that, and yeah, I like that. Anything else I read around those sorts of things, it's just totally intuitive and generally quite random. Maybe I should start following a list though. So if you have any suggestions for any, or any prizes maybe you'd like to see me read, maybe any poetry prizes. I know there's the T.S. Eliot prize or the Forward prize for poetry or anything like that. If you'd like to see me do that, let me know. Yeah, we'll see. Then 1001 books. Approximately how many physical books do you own and how many ebooks? I'll start off with the ebooks because it's a smaller number. Probably only 5 or 6 the last time I checked. Just because I don't really use my e-reader that much. I'm still kind of experimenting, trying to work out where that fits in my kind of reading routine. I think at the moment I've just got a few books on there, and whenever, once I'm in the mood for that book, I'll gravitate towards my e-reader the same way I gravitate towards a certain book when I'm in the mood for that. So that seems to be the way it's working at the moment. In terms of actual books, or physical books I should say, the codex, before I tell you, I'll just do a quick run through of all the shelves so you can see where everything is, and then I'll give you the number. Okay, so I'm sure you've probably seen this before in the bookcase reorganisation video. So it's all mostly fiction here. I've got some anthologies down at the bottom. Let's move this chair out of the way. Yeah, so we've got some anthologies down there, but it's all mostly fiction. Got some fantasy in there, some mystery books and some classics, and then around the other side we have some more sort of modern classics. We have a little Jane Austen shrine. Yeah, modern classics there. Some kids books, or sort of, I suppose sort of. Oh no, that's actually all Anne of Green Gables and that sort of stuff. And then some more sort of general fiction. For some reason we ended up with 2 mystery sections. There's another mystery section there. So we're going to have to reorganise this at some point. And then it goes into non-fiction down at the bottom and then upstairs. So then here it's kind of like an overflow sort of thing. These are just books we haven't found a space for yet. And when we buy new books, this is where they end up at the moment. This is where all the poetry books live. So they're all on their own bookcase here. So there we have it. That's how the books are organised at the moment. Okay, so the last time I counted, the total number of physical books I own is 659 books. I think the last time I counted it was somewhere in the high 500s, and it wasn't really that long ago. Only about, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. I think it was in the spring at some point. So it's grown quite a lot, this little library, which isn't a bad thing at all, but it's definitely crept up on me. yeah, we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll count it again at this point next year and see how much it's grown. Okie dokie. Next up is 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? The last couple of years I've kept track. I think it was about a month into lockdown that I first downloaded Goodreads and set up a Goodreads account. And I can remember just spending a day very compulsively going through the bookshelves, working out which books I've read, which books I wanted to read, and like setting up my lists and, and things, and then kind of trying to remember books I would have read for university and books I read on certain holidays to try and work out what I'd read in past years. It wasn't particularly accurate, really, I don't think, but it gave me a rough idea of what I had read. So yeah, it's only been the last couple of years that I've been keeping track. And at the beginning of this year, I started a reading journal. Since moving house in September, I haven't been keeping it up quite as well, but hopefully I can start that up again, because I find it really helps me kind of process what I've read, what I thought about a book. I tend to try and write one sentence, just sharing my thoughts on the book very shortly. So I find that helps, and hopefully that's something I'll continue to do. Okie dokie then. Moving on, then 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favourite? If you haven't read it, do you want to? No, I haven't read 1001 Arabian Nights, so yeah, I don't have a favourite, but I do really want to. It's on my the Mooks and the Gripes bucket list thing. Yeah, it was one of the books that I really wanted to read when I filmed that, and that hasn't changed. I still haven't picked up a copy, I haven't decided which version I want to read, but yeah, hopefully at some point soon I will pick it up and start dipping into that. But yeah, I'd love to, and I'll get back to you on that. 1001 Flavours. Do you have a favourite food or flavour? Probably my favourite meal is maybe like chili con carne. I love pizza as well. What else do I love? Anything with a kind of tomato-based sauce and carbohydrates. That's probably it. But I mean, I love all sorts of stuff, but that's yeah, where I gravitate towards. And I love spicy food. I tend to add chili or paprika or anything that gives the meal a bit of a kick, even when it's not supposed to. I can remember when I was a kid, once my mum was planning to make a roast dinner one day, and so we all went to the shops, and she all let us choose one vegetable, and I chose chili peppers. So we had a roast dinner with a side of roasted chili peppers, which was actually quite cool. I quite liked that. And I think I've made roast dinners before where I've like sort of rubbed chili into the chicken skin and stuff. Sorry if you don't eat meat, just just ignore that. But yeah, I love spicy food as well, and there's kind of treacly flavours as well, like anything that's like coffee or licorice or something like that, like stout or porter. Love that sort of stuff as well. Then 1001 pages. Have you read a book that's over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend and is worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? So kind of the first part and the second part together. I think the longest book I've read would be Robert Lowell's collected poems. This was one of my sort of lockdown projects back in early 2020. I think I started reading it just before sort of COVID kind of hit off, and I finished it in somewhere in the summer of 2020. So it kind of saw me through most of that lockdown. And it is just more. I think it is everything that Robert Lowell, like a mid 20th century American poet, just more or less everything he wrote. And I went all the way through. So there's a nice long introduction to them at the beginning, then sort of all the poems kind of in sections by each poetry collection, and then right at the end there are a few essays and things, and And the last page of the very last essay, let's just get it up, is page 1001, so it only just fits in there. I probably wouldn't recommend this to everyone. You know, it is essentially, it's almost like lots of books inside one book, because it's just all of his poetry collections, and that's the way it's ordered. But you know, I enjoyed it, and if you're into confessional poetry and stuff, it's an interesting one to look at. Anyway, let's move on. And then 1001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? That's quite fun to say. Non-bookish bucket list. What is one thing on the list? I don't really have. I don't really have a bucket list. Really, I mean, semi-jokingly, I would like to visit the American Northwest. I've always had a strange fondness for Portland, Oregon, and like kind of that kind of area. And like, I think generally I just like to travel more, particularly around Europe, because I've never actually left the British Isles. I have left the United Kingdom because I've been to the Channel Islands, which technically aren't part of the United Kingdom, but haven't left the British Isles, which I don't mind too much, but I would like to have travelled a bit more than I have. Okay, and then after that is 1001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number, and is there a story behind it? Well, my favourite number is the number 5, which is maybe a bit boring. And I know that there are all sorts of things maybe behind it, I don't really know. It just seems to be the number that makes sense to me. I break down the metrical system into fives and things like that. It makes maths easier for me to process if I can find the nearest 5, or the nearest thing I can divide by 5 or times by 5, and then work from there. That's kind of how my brain works. So yeah, 5 is my favourite number, so I suppose my lucky number. 1001 authors. Do you have a favourite author and or genre? And that's a really hard question. One of the first tags that I can remember really enjoying watching, it was the favourite author tag, I think it's called, and that was maybe one of the first tags where I noticed the way a tag video works and the way different channels on booktube kind of talk to each other. So I can remember watching that one a lot and thinking that I couldn't really answer that tag very well, mainly because although there are some writers I'm very fond of and books by them I've read, I haven't read enough by each of those authors to really decide if they're my favourite author. And so some of the big ones for me would be Sylvia Plath, William Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor, Ted Hughes, Seamus Heaney, Borges. I'm trying to think of some others that have really stood out. That's probably it for now. There are probably some others and kind of floating around there. But my honest answer is, although probably my favourite poet is Ted Hughes, there are still days where I'm in more of a mood for another poet, which I suppose is the way it is with favourites, right? You have your favourite and then you're obsessed, you have your new obsessions and things like that. So yeah, I don't have a definitive answer really for that. It's still floating around. Alright, where are we? 1001 activities. Do you have a favourite outdoor activity? So I really love hiking. I haven't done any hiking for ages. It was something I used to do a lot when I was a kid and a teenager. It was kind of one of those bonding things between me and my dad and some of my friends, and I think generally as a family we quite enjoyed going on walks and stuff. So I've always enjoyed being out in nature with no sort of no headphones on or anything, and just kind of being in a place and getting away from it all. So that's probably my go-to outdoor activity, and even now, even though I haven't been up a mountain in quite some time, I still enjoy walking around towns and cities and stuff, and just being out and moving is something I always enjoy. So yeah, it's quite boring just walking, but yeah, I love a good walk. And then 1001 book clubs. This is not a prompt, but a question for the comments. So this is back on Sandy's original video. Should Sandy start a 1001 book club with a book a month for a read-along? And I'm sure everyone who's heard that, you know, on her original video has probably said yes. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, if you're watching, Sandy, do it. I think you should. And then 10 plus 1 friends. Tag some friends. So Sandy tagged 10 plus 1, but she said just tag as many as you'd like. So just give me a sec and I'll have a look at who I might tag. Okay, so I think I'm only going to tag 2 channels. I'm gonna tag Bookings and Books. I just watched her video about sort of getting into poetry and stuff, and really enjoyed that journey. And I haven't watched as many of her videos as I'd like to. I think I subscribed a couple of weeks ago, and I've only caught a couple, so I'd like to get to know her channel a bit more. But yeah, I'll tag you, and I think Alicia Reads and Rambles, I don't think you've done this yet either, so I'll tag you too. But then I will add on, you know, if you make videos and you haven't been tagged in this yet, and would like to, you know, give this tag a go, then please consider yourself tagged, and yeah, have a crack at it. And even if you don't make videos, you know, lots of people do say this at the end of their videos, feel free to, you know, give your answers to some or all of these prompts in the comments. That'd be really cool. But that's that for today. I've probably been rambling on for too much, and I'll see you in another video soon.